All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stream for part 2 of our Tamiya Land Cruiser CC-02 build. Hello to everyone, wherever you are. It's about 5 o'clock here in Western Australia. I think it's a little bit later on the East Coast. Good evening, Erwin. How are you? Hope you're doing well. There we go, just a little camera adjust, try and get a better angle. So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to pick up from where we left off from 2 nights ago. And we're going to start with the electronics install tonight. And we're going to progress to a running car. Just a little bit of work has been done in the last day and a bit. We have finished ourselves off a very nice Land Cruiser shell there, all ready to go. LED kit has been installed, so we will actually get that. We'll get that all lit up tonight as well, so that'll look really good when it's all done. So we'll pop that aside, and we will continue on with where we left off. So as before, feel free to make a comment. I will do my best to have a chat to you guys and pay attention while I build and try not to make mistakes. But yeah, let's get into it and have some more fun tonight. So yeah, where we left off, we just installed the steering servo. Now I like to generally mount most of my electronics before I do anything with the servo, purely so everything's ready to go. You center the servo, then you finish up the linkages. So what we're going to go through now is we're going to install the side plates of the chassis, and then we're going to install the speed controller and the cabling to go around it, as well as the receiver box. So let's start there. Trusty electric screwdriver, which has been recharged from its massive amount of use. So let's get on with it. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. So we've got a couple of 3x18 self-tapping screws here, which will mount our side plates in place, which will allow us to mount the speed controller and the receiver box. So that's in now. So what we can do now is start with our electronic speed controller, which is right here. So we get this all plugged up and happily ready to go. Make sure that we get the waterproofing done correctly. There we go. What we do is we're going to install our switch on the side here. This is the Hobbywing 1060, which is part of our Power Up package from Hearns. Again, great little package, really cost effective, but gives you everything you need to get your Tamiya kit going. So we'll get that in here. Get that installed nicely with some good upside tape. Now what we're going to do, now this Tamiya kit includes the TLU-01 light kit. So what happens, you get this jumper lead here that goes in place. And this jumper lead then sends its power up to the LED kit through this plug here. So what we're going to do is we're going to install that now before we cable tie off our wiring to keep everything nice and tidy, but it'll also install that at the same time while we do it. So as we get that round there, that'll provide a nice little loop, keep all our wiring nice and neat. Oops. So get this cable tie around here, keep it nice and snug. Keep everything nice and out the way. That's better. Beautiful. So we will just cut these cable ties off. So now we have got the wires coming around from there and coming over this way. So now we can install our receiver box, which we have right here. First things first, install our receiver. So route our antenna cable around. We have our servo lead here, so obviously servo into channel 1 and speed controller into channel 2. In nice and snug with the antenna cable coming out as well. And we can route everything in here nice and neatly and keep everything nice and snug as we gently tuck it all the way in here, just like that. And that'll be perfect positioning for our receiver box as well. So close that up nice and snug. Obviously making sure that our cabling has followed the channel which is there, which it has now. And let's install those 2 screws. So those are in now, and now we can actually mount the double-sided tape with the receiver box. Before I do that, I just want to gently push the antenna up through here so we can put an antenna tube on that. And there we go. So what we're going to do now is we will get our antenna tube, get an approximate sort of length, cut that to the length we need, slide it over, and there is our antenna. And what we need to do is we need to install the M3 grub screw that will now hold the antenna pipe in place. So that won't come out now. So if we go to our next page, oops, we'll need now see how all our cabling is sitting, just like that. And we can start putting together the front and rear bumpers. Now, what I'll do is we'll put the rear bumper on first, because that will actually hold the battery in place, so we can set up all the electronics before we attach the front bumper. So let's do that. These are our parts that we need right here. So we've got this bracket here, a spacer, and we also have the lower front bumper section here. And we need ourselves some M3 by 18 self-tapping screws. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, what you may notice with this part is, once again, I have pre-glued the nuts in place. Again, that part of the build, it's been a very interesting part of the build. Don't know if I agree with it, but it is part of the progress. So, next part is doing the rear bumper, which is the screw through here and the nut. So, well, the ball stud on the other side. So that is the rear battery holder in place. So what's going to happen now is we're going to lever this section down to install the bracket. As you can see, it is quite snug already, so you actually have to lever this section back a decent amount to drop this into the chassis rails. And just like that, done. So what we're going to do is we're going to install the battery now. With the snap pin. And we can actually plug this up. Get our radio. Turn the radio on. And now we have power. So we can actually check now. The car's going forwards as we expect, and reverse. And our steering, so making sure we can actually gently put our servo horn on without actually fully mounting it to make sure our steering is going in the correct direction that we want. So right and left. Beautiful. That's what we want. Good evening, Pine Lime, and good evening, Will. How are we all doing tonight? Will, we I had a very interesting chat today to an old friend of ours. I hope you are heading to the Vintage Bash next weekend. So that is actually our steering linkage now installed, and as you can see, right and left. What we're going to do is we will install the tires on this car first before I set the limits, because with most cars you will need to set your steering endpoints correctly. If you don't, you can damage your servo. So let's get this screw and the servo saver fully installed. Cool, that is done. So now we have a vehicle that is powered up. G'day Anthony, how you doing? Yeah, so the Vintage Bash is an event that's being held at the Knox RC car, the Knox RC car track in Victoria, Australia, next weekend. If you jump on any of the Hearn socials, you'll be able to find some information about it. It is literally, it's a massive celebration of all RC cars and associated products and memorabilia. And it's honestly, last year's event was absolutely massive, and this year's promising to be even bigger. I'm pretty sure that a decent amount of the Hearns and Hearn staff and customers are going to be there. And from all the chat we've seen in the group, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a really, really good event. It's just a great celebration of all RC cars. Really pre-2000, but if you got anything, bring it along. Go and have a chat and have a really good night. Well, a good weekend. There's a lot of different classes that are going to be racing and just displaying, and then also all the re-release cars. So like Tamiya's Kyosho will be there, and then obviously you've got Yokomo's Super Dogfighter coming out by the end of the year. So I think a few people will have theirs on display. But it's just a really, really good celebration of vintage RC stuff. So, yeah, great event to go to if you get the chance. I'm hoping to be maybe next year's one. Might be able to attend, but it should be a really, really fun event to go and see. So if you do get the chance, go and have a look. But if you search the Vintage Bash on Facebook, you should be able to find some of the info as well. Right, so that is all good to go. Let's get the front bumper on. That's all nicely placed now. We just need to grab ourselves a couple of spring washers. Yeah, I hope you have fun, Anthony. Honestly, from all the chat that we've seen so far, and I know there are a few of the WA guys who are very, very keen to get over and have a look at the next and have a look. It's but I think a lot of people are preoccupied, unfortunately, this weekend with we have our 1/8 off-road state titles this weekend. Sorry, national titles in WA this weekend. And then we also have the 1/10 national titles the following week. So it is busy over here in WA. All right. So that is the front bumper on. Next part is now to install the wheel axle. So the wheel hexes, the pins and the wheel nuts. So we'll get those. So here we actually have some of the wheels, which we have glued already to make it nice and easy. Yeah, so Will brought up quite an interesting fact that he reckons these wheels are actually from a very, very different Tamiya kit as well, which is quite a bit of trivia. So they've been around for a while, actually. So they're not unique to the kit, which is very handy to know. If you do manage to break or have any issues, you can get replacements. So that's on. So start bolting these wheels on. So nice and free spinning, which is good to see. Actually, out of interest, Anthony, what cars are you bringing to the Vintage Bash this year? You got something special project that's coming to the track with you? Because actually, I said I'm a big fan of the vintage cars in general. I do a bit of vintage buggy racing here in Perth, but we've also got our vintage car event in December. So I'll try and bring some on-road and off-road cars to that one. Last year had a fair bit of fun with a Wild One Blockhead edition. As well, I think I brought my Clodbuster, my Tamiya Super Clodbuster to that as well. That's a really cool setup. So the Blitz Beetle Top Force, two really cool cars. Gotta love the Top Force being, the TAO 102 based with the carbon. And the RC10, absolutely awesome. I would love to get onto some of Andrew Cook's cars. They are very nice to look at and going to be a lot of fun to build. Pine Loam, I'm not sure. I don't know if that is considered vintage or not, but look, bring it and have a chat. It's you never know. The other question, I'm not sure if nitro cars are allowed. I think you're allowed to bring them. You may not be allowed to run it, but I honestly don't know. It depends what the restrictions are at Knox. But if you're not too sure, absolutely chuck a message up in the Vintage Bash group. It'll just give you all the info that you need, as well as you can have a chat to some of the people going as well and have a bit of fun. All right. So that is now installed. Wheels and tires are on, ready to go. So the next part is our body posts. So if you actually have a look at this, the next thumbnail. So we have body posts to install, and then we can start actually putting on the body itself to get this kit nearly finished. I believe so. I'm not sure about a whole track of on-road, because I know there is some drag racing that happens at Knox. So I'm not too sure. I know obviously there's definitely an off-road track, but I'm not sure about an on-road track. You may have to ask the guys themselves. So with these serrated nuts, everything goes on nicely and won't move, hopefully. Oh no, that's completely fine. That's the whole point, we get to build a car and we get to have a bit of a chat about some of the cool little RC events that are happening around. So I'm, with our vintage event that's happening this year, I'm hoping to get a specially themed Tamiya Hornet finished in time. Managed to scavenge myself a Blockhead Motors front bumper. So that'll be quite cool. Should match the theme of the build, so that'll be fun. I also will be hopefully bring along my Tamiya C11 build for a bit of on-road racing at West Coast. That one that's had a bit of a conversion done to it. I've swapped around the rear pod with some F103 and F104 parts. So I can actually run some modern F1 rubber on it, because I didn't want to kill all my tires. So I didn't want to kill all the foam tires, so that's why I've got that. So quickly install the rear bracket, and what that does is it just makes it a bit more stable and less likely the body's going to rock to side. with this. So as you put that on and that on. So as we have that there and there, that is all good to go. Now, if we have a look at this, that Tamiya body is, I'll just pop this out of the way for a second. This is the Tamiya body, and it is supremely detailed. It's not a slow build. From the painting, the masking, even the general accessories on the body itself, it is pretty intense, as you can see there. It's got some fantastic details. So, door handles, the mirrors, and got to paint the mirrors, make that all multicolored. Even the shark fin antenna on the rear of the roof. And then you look at the front end. That looks awesome. You can see how the grille all fits together. That is separate pieces, and then you've got the other parts of the grille as well. Looks absolutely awesome in detail. Even the way the lights themselves have been sculpted are absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, it's definitely, you got to appreciate the effort and details that go into a Tamiya build, and these Tamiya bodies themselves, they look stunning. They just look absolutely fantastic, and they really help you replicate replicate the real vehicles. So that's really, really cool. So that's the chassis. There is our LED kit. So in here you can actually see the light buckets front and rear. Now, obviously, with the Tamiya light buckets, they give you the option to run a lot more LEDs than what they give you. They always give you a set of headlights and taillights. So I think there's mounting from memory for about 8 headlights and 6 taillights. But even with only a pair in the front and rear, you should still get a pretty good idea how this is all going to work. So let's get this plugged in. It's in there. Turned on. And you can actually now pick up the tail lights and the headlights of this vehicle. So let me just see if I can get a better angle for you. See how that all comes through, which is really cool. So that actually, you can actually see it actually goes through a translucent sticker there to help give the effect of the LED light bars. So you can see that on the front, and you can actually see that on the rear as well. You can see how that lights up there too, which is really quite cool. So once you can actually see how that's all coming together, it looks absolutely fantastic. So what we'll do is we'll snap on the body pins now. So we've got front and rear pins. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love how they've done these. I had the pleasure of building the Jägermeister 934 Porsche. And that one, like the LEDs on that were absolutely fantastic. They looked absolutely they looked the part. I mean, you can even see here, even the mirrors and everything like that, they look awesome. Let me just, what I'll do is I'll turn off a little bit of the lighting here. And you might get a better idea of the LEDs themselves here. You can actually see how that comes in through the light bar there. Much, much better here. So, two-part question there. So, yeah, the static displays are awesome at the Vintage Bash. Definitely agree with you on that one, Pine Lime, about the you know, even when you don't mount LEDs, you can still make things look fantastic. Like I do that with a lot of my drift shells. Obviously with drift cars, you try to replicate things, and you know, you can try to replicate. For instance, here you can try to replicate a real light and sort of replicate real lights without having to really attack it too much, but they still look really, really cool. So with the textured, like a textured decal, it looks really realistic. I do agree with you, Anthony. Magnets are fantastic, and a lot of my own cars do use magnet mounts, especially my drift cars. The problem is on a crawler, they have a tendency to pop off. So what it means is that if you run, if you run off road and the car bounces up and down, the body can pop off. That doesn't happen with body clips. It's just not going to happen. So that, again, just another thing to not have to worry about when you're out running on the trail or just having a bit of fun. You just want to get out, you just want to drive. You don't have to worry about the body falling off while you're going around corners or while you're just enjoying yourself. So that is pretty much done. What I'll do, actually, I'll grab something else you can have a quick squiz about in terms of the light buckets, in terms of the way the lights look. But that is pretty much our Land Cruiser done. Yeah, the quick little electronics install. Luckily, nothing has to be soldered today to make it a little bit easier to run. But what we'll do is we will make sure everything is good to go. So radio on first, speed controller on. Steering is all correct. Beautiful. So what we're going to do quickly is we're actually going to set the endpoints on the steering, because that's something that's really, really important. Whether you do it on a race car, a drift car, or any sort of vehicle, setting your steering endpoints are really, really important to make sure you're not damaging your servo. So as you can see there, that's our steering. And you can see as I go to full on the steering, that is full lock. That's full lock in your steering. That is the limit of how far you can go. But you can see that the servo actually can push harder. And there, you can actually see the servo over rotates. So what you want to do is you want to get to that point and actually bring the dual rate back so you're not over rotating. So you're still getting maximum steering, but your steering is not binding out and not jamming it up. So now we have full steering left and right, but nothing is binding up, nothing's getting jammed and getting damaged in the process. So that is that. And what we'll do now is we'll pop all the bodies on, we're going to turn it all off. But that is a very happily completed kit. So it's a good bit of fun to go and run outside, where you go around the grass or something else, but that is all finished. Just bear with me one sec, guys. Okay, so that is everything all finished. Thank you very much, guys. Just going to see if you've got any more questions, feel free to hit up the Hearns pages. But thanks very much for coming around tonight, guys. Sorry it wasn't a longer build tonight, but we got through it really quickly. But thank you very much, and we will catch you in the next build, guys. See you later.